Good morning.
I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation. Is it your sense that Democratic unity on Obamacare is weakening?
Not really and not yet. And that's because we know, for example, that in the first couple of months in Massachusetts, and that's really the only precedent we had, there were only a couple of thousand people who signed up. We also know about the very troubled rollout of the prescription drug site. We do know that fixes could be made. One thing we also know is that if you put a bill on the floor, and that's what I challenge Speaker Boehner to do, put a bill on the floor to fix it and see if that doesn't devolve into another repeal. Remember where they began. First they undermined it, then they tried to repeal it. Now they're trying to sabotage it. One of the problems we're having now is that they're having to take money from other parts of HHS because the appropriators have not in fact funded what needed to be done with this site. One of the changes I think that's going to have to happen is the public is not going to, I believe, be forced to pay a fine if the website isn't up and if the whole thing isn't running more smoothly. I don't think anybody wants to put this over on the public, but nobody for 1 second believes that my committee, which is now hearing this, led by my good friend Darrell Issa, wants to fix anything. Otherwise, they would not have snatched the IT people off of this 24/7 ritual they've been in, which is equivalent to fixing a plane while it's flying, and insisted and indeed subpoenaed them to come and testify before us.
Even if, Congresswoman, the reason for this hearing is not to fix it, if that's not what Darrell Issa is talking about, is there a problem that the president made a deadline that now it seems he may not be able to keep? And that's different from what you're saying, for example, about the Massachusetts rollout, because he did draw a line in the sand himself and say, this is going to be up and working, here's the date, and now it looks like you're not going to be able to make that date.
Yeah, and he's apologized for that, and he should have himself read the fine print and warned people that, look, this is after all IT we're talking about, and you've seen the problems that we always have on even the best of them, so expect some glitches. The problem that the administration made was it did not warn people that because of the absence of the funding that was necessary, because IT, particularly involving so important and large an undertaking, always have problems, because they didn't talk about Massachusetts and the problems they had in the beginning, because they didn't talk about the massive problems that we had with the prescription drug rollout. Everybody expected perfection, and they didn't do anything to quell that expectation.
You know where we found ourselves now, so now we've seen these bills proposed to allow people to keep the insurance they have, or delay the health care penalty fee, or to extend open enrollment. Ideas that in several cases are coming from the Democratic side, as we've said. Where do you stand on those proposals?
Well, let me tell you what I think the problem is, and I can understand if we could pick pieces of this. If you fix X, Y, and Z, then wouldn't it be fine? This is a knee bone connected to the thigh bone, connected to the foot bone problem. That is to say, this thing is all of a piece. And if you unwind it by picking out a piece, then the whole thing could collapse right in your lap. For example, the insurers will surely be on the hook if they take out this piece or that piece, because they've laid out a lot of funds in the expectations that people will be on. People are going to have to find a way to fix this thing while it's running. Nobody's had to do that with a site of this size and this dimension. They're finding it. The impatience is would exactly be there even if the president hadn't promised, because that patience will always be from the public, and that's what makes people, in fact, fix things and make them better.
Eleanor Holmes Norton, thank you so much for stepping out of the hearing. Thank you for being on with us.
Of course.
Susan, she sounds confident, even though we know some Democrats are getting nervous.